Welcome to the Daily Standard. God has given men a code of conduct in His Word, and we're here to help you live up to it. Join us as we pursue glory, honor, and immortality in the name of Christ.
Well, howdy, men, and welcome back to the Daily Standard. Now, this is day 2 in our week talking about the heart, and we're looking at Proverbs 4:23. Keep your heart with all diligence, for from it flow the springs of life. Now, we talked yesterday about what it means to keep the heart with all diligence, to set a guard over your heart, that you're watching what's coming in and what's going out, that you're watching for potential threats, right? You are actually actively guarding the center point of your life, your heart, your affections, right? You're not just loving everything. You're not just loving whatever's put in front of you, right? You're not allowing yourself to be pulled away from your mission to love your God first, your wife second, your kids third, and then everybody else after that, right? You're keeping guard on that. And the first one I want to start with to talk about today is guarding our heart, keeping our heart with all diligence on guard against sexual sin. Now, I know that it seems like everybody and their mother is talking about sexual sin nowadays, that it's really getting dealt with a lot. And the reason for that is because it is so rampant, right? It is everywhere. I mean, if you dare to go look up statistics of even sexual sin, pornography use, adultery within the church, it is rampant, right? But the reality of this is that it is a big struggle nowadays, but it's also one of the oldest struggles that we see in the Bible. All the way back in Genesis chapter 4, right in the beginning. It hasn't even been that long since the original sin in the garden. We find a man, Lamech, who is descended from the line of Cain, and he has already engaged in polygamy, right? He has already taken another wife. He said to his wives, a man has struck me and I killed him, right? So he's a murderer. He murdered a man, and he's a polygamist, right? And I believe this is sexual sin because what he's doing is he's looking at one wife and saying, that's not enough. I want more. I want more sex. I want more, and I want something outside of the bounds of what God has declared as good for me, right? And so he went and took another wife. So this sin, right, this desire that can take on so many different forms, the root of it being a desire for more than what God has given us, and worshiping sex and sexuality, right, goes back to the beginning of time, but yet it is something that men deal with today, right? It is something that is a serious sin issue, and it's something that if we don't learn to deal with it, we'll never be able to help our sons and daughters. We'll never be able to help our wives or be of use to anyone else who's struggling with things. And so I want to look at how we can keep guard on our heart from the root of sexual sin, not just addressing the fruit. I think that's what a lot of things are doing. I think it's easy to look at, if your sexual sin that you're dealing with is pornography, it's easy to just deal with not looking at pornography, right? That's where we get good and helpful things like accountability software that if you don't have it, it's something you struggle with. I think that's something you need to pursue. But if that's all we deal with is not committing the act of looking at pornography, then we've really fallen short of dealing with the root of the issue, right, which is misordered affections, right? And so many of us, we can even say we don't struggle with looking at pornography. Maybe that's you. But do you struggle with letting your heart wander towards feeling a certain way for another person that's not your wife, right? Or towards even something like a friend that you've gotten too close to. Maybe it's a couple friend that you spend time with and you've gotten too close to them, right? And you're starting to feel your heart wandering, right? So many times, Proverbs even says that the king looked out from his window, this is metaphorically speaking, and he saw a man turn down the street of the adulteress, right? He didn't turn immediately at her house. He had to turn down the street she lived on, and he had to walk down it for quite some time. He had many times that he could have turned off of that street, but he went astray from his heart very early on. And so today, as an action step, I want you to know that there is hope, but it requires you to focus on God, put him back on the throne of your heart, and to look at your wife in a different way. Read Proverbs 5 15 to 23. Okay, read that, meditate on that today. Toss that around in your mind. And then consider steps that you can take on a daily basis to rejoice in the wife of your youth. That's what it talks about in that verse. Set reminders on your phone if you have to, or watch or your smartwatch to send your wife a nice text. Give her a call on your lunch break. Surprise her with a date. Do whatever it takes to keep her as the standard of beauty and the only woman for you. Remember, keep your heart. Watch over it with all diligence.